You're going about your day as normal when you get the call that your closest buddy was murdered in a vehicle accident. How would you cope if, in an instant, everything changed forever? Please focus on this video for the next few minutes if you want to develop the kind of character that can withstand and even thrive in the face of adversity. Don't wallow in self-pity. Instead, pretend you've suffered a double leg break, seated in a wheelchair, and accept that you'll be limited to this position for the rest of your life. What would you do if you learned you had to use a wheelchair for the rest of your life? When things go tough, people have a tendency to feel sorry for themselves for a variety of reasons, including procrastination, a reluctance to confront reality, a belief that they are powerless over their situation, and a desire to play the victim. This is why self-pity sets in when individuals are put in a disadvantaged position. Self-pity is counterproductive because it diverts attention away from the good things in life and encourages the cultivation of more negative emotions. Modifying your actions might help you feel better about yourself and minimize your tendency toward self-pity. Helping people in need or spending time with the elderly residents of a nursing home makes it difficult to wallow in self-pity. You may replace your sentiments of pity with gratitude instead. Those who often express thankfulness have better health, lower blood pressure, and stronger immune systems, according to a recent scientific review. Second thing, hold on to your authority, please. I want you to image in your mind the person you despise the most, and then I want you to consider how much of your time is spent contemplating this person's dislikability. Consider how much of your time you spend dwelling on how much you despise that person. How much of your time is spent contemplating how much you despise this person? How often do you dwell on why you despise them? When you think about this individual, how much influence do they have over your thoughts and emotions? Making other people responsible for your mood, emotions, and actions weakens your mental fortitude. The trouble with letting other people control your emotions is that it makes you dependent on them. Because you let other people choose your worth, you take their criticisms to heart and struggle to maintain your own. If you want your power back, you need to forgive the people who stole it from you and slow down before you respond. Negative reaction-prone people should step away from potentially volatile situations and give themselves a moment to collect their thoughts. The last step is to critically evaluate the feedback you've got by considering the source and their possible motivations for offering it. 3. Confidence comes from standing out, so embrace your uniqueness. Is your ability to adapt to new situations high, medium, or low? Can you adapt to new circumstances as they emerge, or do you tend to stay with what you know, even if it's harmful? When you're in a poor spot, it's easy to rationalize bad behavior by telling yourself that it's not really that awful. When necessary, do you have the ability to alter your routines, surroundings, or behavior? Though you don't, you'll probably continue doing what you've always done since it's comfortable and usual, even if you know changing it may make things far worse. Not only will you miss out on valuable educational opportunities by resisting change, but the more you put it off, the more challenging it will become. Therefore, this is how to deal with change instead of resisting it. The first step in figuring out whether or not to make a change is to make a list of the potential benefits and drawbacks of doing so. Then, you should put the positive possibilities ahead of the negative ones. The next step is to choose whether or not to implement the alteration. Assuming you settle on the 4 don't stress over something you can't change. Many people who suffer from anxiety find that exerting control over their environment helps them cope with their symptoms. Why should you be concerned about anything at this point? Focusing your attention on things outside of your control causes you to take the responsibility for everything when it isn't your fault and can be harmful to your relationships. Keep in mind that you are solely responsible for your own actions and outlook. Myth number 5. If you say yes to almost everything others ask of you, you're a people pleaser. The fear of rejection and the acquired habit of people pleasers motivate our attempts to make others happy. A person who is overly concerned with pleasing others is likely to answer yes to practically every request made of them. In these kinds of situations, people who are too concerned with the opinions of others around them may put their relationships with those closest to them at risk in order to gain approval from those further away. The second issue with trying to make everyone happy is that it might lead you to compromise your ideals and cease always doing the right thing. The primary issue with trying to make everyone happy is the harm it does to intimate personal connections. Let's say a pal of yours has asked you to. We don't take risks because our sentiments overpower our logic, and we don't even consider the perils we face while making decisions. Rather, we rely on our impulses and habits. Recall a time you acted rashly, Whether it was buying something you didn't need or sending a humiliating text to the lady you have a crush on. Maintaining composure and foregoing hasty choices is essential at times like these. If it's a major decision, give yourself a week to mull it over and think about it as much as possible, including sleeping on it. Taking measured risks is where true greatness lies, and the risk-averse miss out. The world is full with incredible opportunities that we can miss if we don't dare to take any risks. Finding a happy medium between feeling and thinking might help us overcome our concerns. Travelers who suffer from a severe fear of flying often choose to drive the long distances rather than take a flight, a decision driven more by emotion than logic. Wouldn't you want the odds to be in your favor if you were willing to take a chance? A fatality in an aviation disaster has odds of 1 in 11 million, while the same outcome in a vehicle accident has odds of 1 in 5,000. Wouldn't you want the odds to be in your favor if you were willing to take a chance? Reason. Number 7. You should want the chances to be in your favor if you're going to take a risk. Do you often dwell on the things you should have done differently in the past? Not doing so is recommended if this is the case. Remembering past failures is of little use in overcoming current challenges. It's tempting to believe that if you just wallow in your self-pity for long enough, you'll be able to forgive yourself. Feelings like shame, embarrassment, and anger can keep you stuck in the past. Thinking too much about the past prevents you from enjoying the here and now or preparing for the future. You need to reorient your thoughts so that you may live in the here and now without missing out on future opportunities because of your preoccupation with the past. If you're having trouble focusing, try watching a movie that's just 1% better or setting some goals for the future. Planning for the future might make it difficult to reflect on the past. Don't be a repeat offender. Chapter 8. Make sure you don't make the same mistakes twice in Chapter 8. We keep making the same mistakes because we are impulsive and stubborn. You'll never go anywhere if you're so impetuous and obstinate, and your loved ones will become tired of hearing your complaints. The first step is to figure out what went wrong. Before going on, take some time to consider your mistake, figure out what went wrong and what you might have done differently, and develop a plan to fix the problem. Be on the lookout for your own repeating behaviors and make plans to hold yourself accountable, for as by keeping a journal. Product 9. It's normal to feel a bit jealous occasionally, but it's never a good idea to hold grudges against other people for their successes. Many of us harbor resentment against the prosperous lives of others because we covet their material possessions. The trouble with being envious of other people's achievements is that it can lead you to lose sight of your own goals, harm your relationships, and compromise your principles. Quit coveting other people's achievements if you ever want to stop resenting theirs. Focus on cooperating instead than competing, and make it a point to regularly celebrate the achievements of others around you. 10. Keep trying even if at first you fail. If you've experienced failure before, you might think you're doomed to experience it again, and that can make you give up on your goals altogether. Changing your perspective on failure is necessary if you want to avoid giving up after experiencing a single setback. Listed below are some common ways of thinking about setbacks that might prevent you from trying again. Eventually, giving up after experiencing even a minor setback might become second nature. Every time you give up, you reinforce the notion that failing is terrible. Your future attempts will be foiled by this. Changing your perspective on failure is essential if you want to keep trying. I may either be a full success or a total failure, there is no middle ground. Stop yourself from thinking illogically by recalling these factors. Since I know that setbacks are often a vital part of progressing towards success, I am able to cope with them. 11. To be alone is not a bad thing. If you feel that being alone is a waste of time and that you'd rather not dwell on your issues, perhaps you keep yourself busy with other endeavors. Here are some of the advantages of solitude that you might be missing out on. Workplace isolation can be beneficial. Don't be scared to spend time alone yourself in your personal life. You may feel that doing so is a waste of time since you'd rather not dwell on your difficulties. This study found that people generally perform better in environments where they can focus without interruption. A phobia of solitude may be addressed by training oneself to be comfortable with silence. Eventually, you'll find a rhythm that works for you. Use your quiet time to meditate or write down your thoughts and feelings in a journal. The negative effects of emotions, such as stress, have been linked to meditation, which has many positive emotional effects. A good idea for when you're alone yourself. 12. The problem with the sense of entitlement is that it keeps children from learning how to accept responsibility for their behavior. We all want our fair share in life, but the idea that you're owed anything just because of who you are or being a know-it-all may harm your career and your personal life. Learn to recognize the feelings of entitlement you have inside yourself. Keep an eye out for thoughts such, that regulation is dumb and I'm more valuable than others, or I'm not going to respect that law since it's ridiculous. There has always been this one element about me that sets me apart. Item 13. Avoid setting your sights too high if you want to see quick results. Humans have a tendency to overestimate their own skills and underappreciate the length of time it takes for things to change, leading them to anticipate results immediately. The problem with wanting things right away is that it can lead to the temptation to cut corners, which in turn can lead to disappointment if the desired outcome is not achieved quickly enough. This issue may be avoided if, instead of seeking instant gratification, long-term objectives are pursued. Before we summarize, I'd want to let you know that I'm developing a website called 1%academy.com, on which I'll provide paid video courses to help you become 1% better. I'd want to hear from you in the comments about the one thing in your life where you feel like you most need advice or support. Don't worry about pleasing everyone, don't be afraid of taking risks, don't repeat your mistakes, don't be afraid of change, don't dwell on the things that you can't alter, don't worry about pleasing everyone, 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 don't worry about pleasing everyone. Feeling jealous of other people's success is not a good idea. Do not give up on your dreams after the first try, do not be frightened of spending time alone, do not think the world owes you anything, and do not expect instant results.